I thought I would make it to the next round of the Daily Chess Championship. Instead, half of my games were no-shows, and the other half were a roller coaster of wins and losses. It reminds me a lot of the Gotham Chess versus Julian Song. Lately, they went to Madrid, Spain, and battled it out, and Levy was considerably worse in some of his games, but managed to win, and that's what one of my games felt like. I'll show you how I fought higher rated players and blundered under pressure, but still found ways to be proud. In this format, it was a daily. We had one day to make a move, and the groupings were you had to play each person twice. So here's my groupings right here. I had 8 games after the fourth day. Most of the participants in this had dropped out and timed out their games. You had to make a few moves before you get any elo gain or loss. So they didn't lose anything for their timeouts. And I had 4 people that were stiff competition. This person was under my level, but the rest of them were above. And I had the worst time trying to beat this person. I didn't win any games against this person, but I managed to beat these 2 people at least once and this one both times. I dropped the hardest game that I played into Lichess to analyze it briefly, and this is what it came up with. The opening was fine, and then I made serious mistakes, and it was just worse for a very long time. I held on and held on and held on, but man, it was so rough after this move right here. Okay, this was going according to plan. They fianchettoed the bishop. I thought they would. I moved my pawn up to create this nice pawn chain, kind of taking away those squares. What could go wrong there? They took, and I did not take with the pawn. I took with a knight, which already was very bad because you have multiple things staring at that. Instead of taking with the pawn, I took with the knight, and that was the first inaccuracy, and things rolled downhill from there so very fast. Um, I was thinking here, what did I just do? This is going to be not great for me. They played f6. Instead of guarding that pawn, my brain glitched. And I castled. So 2 inaccuracies within the 2 moves. I have a whole day to think about these, but yeah, this one was going very slow. We had maybe 2 moves a day between me and this person. So it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in. And I should have been in the groove, making good moves. And this one was just really hard. They took the free pawn. Why did it do that? They took the free pawn, and I belatedly guarded it. Now, queen over was a move that I did not see at all. I belatedly moved my rook over to try and kick this knight out. They went d6, which threatened that. This is under threat. I was for sure thinking this bishop was going to be lost. Um, so My brain went, this is going to be lost. This is going to be lost. What can I do? If I could break these apart, maybe I have a chance to get in and cause some havoc with my queen. So I thought about this for a while and made a blunder. The idea, it was silly. The idea was hope chess here. Hoping that thought knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, queen takes, knight takes, mate. This was totally hope chess. This was the worst idea I had had the whole time. That was so many bad moves by my opponent that would have to happen. There's no way that they could do that. Complete hope chess. Like who would miss that this is mate? And instead of castling, castling would have saved it a little bit, but not much. Here, so many things. Yeah. Okay, so that was my hope chess. That did not work out at all. They pushed a pawn in front of their... they pushed f6, which was the end. My brain did not like that move at all. This is hanging. This is bad. This is bad. I forgot that this pawn was even contributing and could help that. But basically, my brain said, this bishop's hanging, this bishop's hanging. Which one is more important to you? So I wanted to save the light squared bishop. And even the computer says to sack the bishop, which I did. At that point, that bishop had to die. Because this light squared bishop was way more important to everything. But still, I'm losing by 4 points there. I play e2, trying to guard that bishop. I didn't want to move it. Taking the bishop is actually the best move. They move their queen, threatening this pawn. And I push the pawn. No, I didn't even push that pawn. I gave my king an escape square. They took, I took, they took, I took. They took with the bishop. I pulled the queen back, hoping for some cheese there. They got out of the way with pushing e6. If they hadn't pushed e6, I was so happy with this. I wanted this. This is another hope chess. But they didn't let me checkmate them on move 15, so we just continued on. I went knight d2. They went rook f8. I don't know if they meant to try and castle here. That was kind of weird, but still not horrible. I make a mistake, and I put my knight here. Instead of going there, I needed to go knight f3. So I went here to guard this pawn. I was very worried of this cannon, that pointing there. I knew I only had this defender and this defender. I wanted to add a defender. I went e4, guarding this square one more time. They went d5, trying to kick the knight away. I checked the king because this was really awesome. It looks like I'm just giving this queen away, but if they had taken the queen, I could fork the king and the queen. I thought that move was so good. I'm like, yes, another hope chess. Take my queen. Just Just let me fork you at least. Nope, no, they take all the joy away from this game for me. Instead, they blocked with the bishop. I took the queen, and they took with the pawn, and then I jumped in with my knight, just giving checks, trying to stay alive. This looked so vicious to me, which it kind of is. King moved, and then I'm thinking, what did I get myself into? I can't move anywhere without getting taken. Apparently, checking the king one more time and getting taken by a rook is the key. What would they do? Yeah, take with the rook. And this is bad. So I moved my knight down here, figuring I could at least activate the rook, and they didn't even take the pawn that they were threatening this whole time. So I moved my rooks. Again, hope chess. If they moved away, I could start checking the king. It's horrible. This was a lot of hope chess. This was my worst game lately. They took, and I thought pinning the bishop to the rook was a good idea, so I pulled back. And that was something I didn't even see. So I went out of the line of sight, thinking if they took me, I at least could take back. They took the pawn. I threatened the bishop. Bishop checked me. I attack the rook. The rook slides over. And I do trade the rook off because it's been annoying. And that was given a mistake. Checkmate is now unavoidable after this mistake. So, power of the two bishops against this lone king. And then the last hope chess for the remainder of the game was, how can I get into stalemate? After they take me, how can I manage a stalemate at this point with ideas like bishop d4 check? That could totally happen. Checks are something that you should do. I walk up with my king, c6 check, keep walking over with my king to g3, e5 check, g4. Maybe they get a little bit greedy and go pawn grabbing. King, bishop takes g2, h4, b5. Let's push a pawn on the other side. Totally reasonable, right? I move up h5, g takes h5, check. King takes h5, looking like they're going to win, right? b4, king to h6, b3, king takes h7, b2, king to g8, and here, if you promote to a queen, you take away this square. It wants you to under promote to a, if you do promote, you need to under promote to a rook. But if you promote to a queen, that's stalemate. And in daily chess, it has a way you can move the pieces on a separate board. It doesn't give you any hints or anything, so it's not an analysis tool. It's just a way to move the pieces, and it really helped me visualize the moves that were coming. It was a very neat tool that got me thinking I need to start working on my visualization so I can do that a little bit more naturally in my head. So at that point, I was working towards stalemate, and that's what caused me to make all of these moves here. So they didn't check me. I moved h4. They went b5, e2, b4, g4, c3, d3. There's a way to get stalemated with the king here and things happening or here, something like that. So I found another stalemate and was working towards that instead. Bishop takes h5, see me giving away all the pawns. G takes h5, running the king around to try and get to a perfect spot to get stalemated. Then they start pushing the other pawn. And that you won't get stalemated here. h2, king to b3, b1 check, c4, and e6 check. At this point, at move 38, I believe once they started pushing that b pawn, no. Once they started pushing the h pawn here at move 39, my stalemate tricks were gone. It was unavoidable, but they're going to have to make the checkmate. I'm not going to give up. They checkmated me. That was a very long game, 43 moves, and in that time, I made 4 inaccuracies, 2 mistakes, and 1 blunder, with an 87% accuracy on Lichess, which is like a 70-something accuracy on chess.com. Yeah, they didn't make any mistakes. 2 inaccuracies. That was the worst game. So this one was the best game that I played. I had a 90% accuracy, even though I made a lot of errors. I have the black pieces here, and they start with e4. I go e5, f3, knight f6. This is a Petrov. Knight c3, bishop b4. I was kind of hoping that they would take and let me do regular kind of trappy things, but they didn't. So in this game, they went d3, which is questionable and inaccuracy. Looks good to me, but I keep this pawn hanging because there are traps after white takes the pawn. Pawn to d5, e takes d5, queen takes d5. We're going kind of for the ideas. Push the pawn, get the queen over, and if they castle over here, there's a pretty neat attack, but they don't play into it. Bishop d2, I go ahead and take on c3. Bishop takes c3, I castle, e2, bishop e2, knight c6, they castle. I bring my rook over a little bit. They bring their rook. Bishop g4. We like these ideas, right? h3 trying to kick out, and I go ahead and take, thinking if they took me with the pawn, that would open them up for some attacks. More hope chess. At this point, I am losing, but it's not entirely clear because I do have a lot of good activity. I think I'm doing fine. They're doing fine. They play, or I play e4, which was an inaccuracy. Queen d6 was best. No, it wasn't. This, well, not to that square, but over here, this is great. You're looking straight at the enemy king with ideas of jumping in with your knights, and the bishop has to move. So, pawn takes, g5, that was the whole idea. Bishop takes f6, which was inaccurate. I reclaim it with the queen. I'm not going to open up my king. c3, rook a to d8, queen c2. And this is kind of where I get an idea. I have an extra knight, not an extra knight, I have a knight, and that can be pretty tricky. I knight to e5. e2 was an inaccuracy. They should have just moved the bishop. Wait a second, I could have taken. Take with check. And if they open up, I could do some things where I'm checking. Okay, I go the other way. Instead of that, I move over to d3. I'm threatening some things. The queen can't take me because I have backup. Look like a nice spot for this knight to be, and I am gaining a little bit on this accuracy bar here. It's not accuracy, on the evaluation bar. Rook AD1 was just a blunder because they hung this rook. So I take the rook. They take my rook, and I have an intermezzo move, which is claiming a bishop on the way out. With check. Oops, with check. So, of course, I claim the bishop on the way out. And I am absolutely stomping at this point. They made 2 blunders in a row, and that's it. Queen takes, and I take with the queen. I've got ideas. I've got lots of ideas. So they resigned. Very nice. I had claimed equality here. And if I had taken with my knight, there's ways it could have gone wrong. I wonder why the evaluation bar is not on at this point in time. That's weird. Let's go back. Yeah, queen takes was good. Queen takes. Get to the 7th or the 2nd. Definitely double stack the rooks. The play is super easy for me, it feels like, but not so easy for my opponent. They have doubled pawns. My pawns are beautiful all together. My rooks are claiming the open file. This would have been really easy for me, even though it says equal. So this is what it looked like on the 10th day. Most of the games were over. I still had most of my games still in play. I was trying to make slow, good moves, think about it, really get into analyzing the positions, but I won 1 and lost 1 against number 2, Alon Bergman. Now, that was the best game that I played, the 90%. And I won the first game against the lower rated player here. So I have 2 wins and 1 loss with 5 games to go. And I'm slowly making improving moves, thinking I'm doing pretty good. Things go downhill pretty easy, pretty quickly. And I end up winning once, losing once, losing both times, and tied for 2nd place. So here are the results of my group's Daily Chess Championship. The winner was Fabian Lab, who I had some really hard games against. They played great. I am tied for 2nd, 18 points, and then the rest mostly timed out. This person really seed S4EED10. I always say seed, but maybe it's Saeed. They did so good. They held out against the most brutal people to play against. As a 400, we were in group 1,785. There were over 5,000 groups of 12 people, and only 5,000 people get to go on to the next level. Right now in our group, Fabian Lab is going on unless the analyzers of the games determined there was any foul play. I am going to have to make a video of the biggest upset of this whole tournament, a 700 beating a 2,000 using foul play. They cheated, and they were kicked out for cheating. That's going to end this tournament story of mine. If you have tournament stories similar to this one where you battled it out, let me know in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.